welcome to Niagara College's Spring Open House and welcome to the Early Childhood Education Information Session. We are happy to have you here with us today. My name is Stacey Wilson and I will be your host for today's session. Before we get started, I will begin with a land acknowledgement. Niagara College acknowledges the land on which we gather is the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee and Anishinaabe peoples, many of whom continue to live and work here today. This territory is covered by the Upper Canada Treaties and is within the land protected by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Agreement. Today, this gathering place is home to many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples, and acknowledging reminds us that our great standard of living is directly related to the resources and friendship of Indigenous peoples. I would now like to take this opportunity to introduce our faculty, Professor Angela Hayes and Professor Kathy Texera. We also have Fernando Gama from our International Division who will be on hand during the Q&A to answer any questions you may have. At this time, I will hand over to Angela to start the presentation with the first slide, and we will go over some housekeeping items. So deadline to accept your offer of admission is May 1st, 2021. Many programs are still open for fall, winter, and spring intakes. If you have any questions throughout the session, please use the Q&A feature. Use the live chat feature at the bottom of our website if you have any additional questions throughout the day. Join us for a college exploration or take a virtual tour at a time that works for you. Explore our student services, Ask Me Anything drop-in sessions to speak live to staff throughout the day. Recordings of all sessions will be available online after the event for up to a month. Next slide. So fall term, as Niagara College closely monitors current and projected public health measures, vaccination rates and other factors, a significant increase in on-campus learning is anticipated for the fall 2021 term. The health and safety of our students, staff, and faculty remains a top priority. Courses and program elements that return to campus will comply with all public health measures and directives. The delivery status for all programs will be provided by early May to allow students as much time as possible to plan for their studies in September. The most up-to-date and accurate source for information regarding college operations and program delivery information is on our website at niagaracollege.ca/COVID-19. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. As Stacey said, I am Angela Hayes. I am the coordinator as well as a professor in the Early Childhood Education program. And first, I just want to thank everybody for coming on and doing this open house in a different way and hearing all about our program. We do understand and appreciate how difficult the decision is to choose post-secondary education. And so what we would like to do today is talk about what makes our early childhood education program here at Niagara College different than any other of the programs across the province as you are making this decision for your post-secondary career. So I'm going to pass it over to my colleague, Kathy Texera, and she's going to start on some information about our program.
Hi, everybody. I'm Kathy Texera, and I'm a professor in the Early Childhood Education program. And I'm just going to explain a little bit about the structure of our ECE program. So you have 2 terms each year, a fall term and a winter term, and you're off for the summer. And so the fall term, which would be terms 1 and terms 3, run from September to December each year. And the winter term is for terms 2 and 4, and they run from January to April, both years. So each term is 14 weeks long. So you have school for 7 weeks, and then you have a week off for a break, and then you come back for another 7 weeks. And you will be very busy, and you'll find that it goes by very fast. And before you know it, midterm will be here and you will be having a break. So our courses follow a hybrid format, meaning that we have time in a face-to-face classroom, which is typically on campus when we're not going through a pandemic, but we still have some face-to-face things happening online. And then you have time in the hybrid classroom, which is always online and where you will be working independently. So this could entail doing some readings or activities or watching videos related to the content that's being taught that week. And that makes up about 15 hours of your week. Then you usually have about 15 hours of homework each week between all of your courses. And you also have field placements, which give you the opportunity to practice what you're learning in the classroom. And you'll be able to learn more about that with Professor Hayes in a few minutes. So are there any questions about that?
No.
I'm just going to see. I don't see any questions. Sorry. So now I will go on to faculty relationships. So you're going to find here at Niagara College that we are very interested in getting to know you. So you will not be an anonymous face in the crowd when you're here. So we recognize students in the hallways, and we're all located in a cozy hall where our doors are always open for a quick chat if you want to say hello, or if you're looking for support with an assignment, doing group work, you're concerned about your grades, or you need some support accessing other departments within the college. So that's when we're on campus. And when we are learning virtually, Professor Hayes and I and all of your other faculty members also have a virtual office where you can come and chat with us as well. So all of the faculty in the ECE program take a vested interest in every one of you, and we make time to meet all of you face to face, and we make ourselves available to meet with students individually, which we've been doing virtually this term on a platform just like Zoom. It's called Blackboard, and it's very similar to Zoom. And also our classes are very interactive. So it would be a very rare occurrence to have a faculty member stand in front of the classroom and lecture you for 2 hours. These interactive discussions and activities help us to get to know you as well. So when you're missing a few classes and we're wondering where you are, we will follow up with you because we care and we are here to support you in any way we can. Sorry.
That's okay. I'm going to take over now.
Right.
Professor Texera, and I'm going to follow up in terms of one of the things that Professor Texera spoke about was around field placement. And what we know is Niagara College has a vision that is all about applied learning and applying your dreams and making them come true. And so through our program, experiential learning is very important. And what this means is taking the theory and actually using it in the field. So we do start you off. We recognize that some students come in because they have a love for children and are very curious about child development, but may not have been in a classroom. So we don't want to throw you into a classroom right away. So we start off with your first placement, doing some observations at a childcare we have here on campus to get you used to what a classroom would look like and get the feel for it before we actually put you in a classroom. And we also have what we call facilitative sessions, which are part of your placement. And that is with our field placement officers who specialize in placements. And they talk you through all the things you would need to know and answer all your questions before you actually step foot into a placement. In our placements, we have 4 different, what we call pracs or practicums, and one each term. This has been slightly different during the pandemic, but I'll explain that in a minute. And in those 4 practicums, we give you 4 different experiences. So some of you may think, you know what, I'm coming in because I want to teach kindergarten. I want to be one of the designated early childhood educators in the kindergarten classrooms across the province. So that's what I want to do my placement in. However, we will give you a placement in a kindergarten classroom to make that connection, have that experience, but we will not give you all 4 placements in that experience. And the reason behind that is one of the things that differentiates us is that we want you to be marketable upon graduation. So first of all, there might not be a job in there at that school, in the school system when you graduate. So you might need to work somewhere else initially. So we want to make sure you have experience in other areas so that you can get a job out of graduation. The second thing is we're firm believers that you don't know what you don't know. So if you've never been in an infant room, you might not know you have a love for infant development until you're in there. So we want to expose you to all these experiences so that your resume is padded when you graduate and that you have have a really educated decision about where you want to take your career. When you're out on placement, we do have our field placement officers go out to your sites and observe you and have conversations with your host teachers. They're there to guide you. They're there to provide all support. So you're not alone out in the field. You do have Niagara College staff that are out there with you during that experience. Typically, we offer 635 hours of experience, which is over and above what the College of Early Childhood Educators of Ontario requires for you to register. And with the COVID-19 going on right now, we haven't been able to have our students out in placement. So we've had to be creative about how we apply those skills, how we help our students apply those skills. So we did create a virtual preschool, which actually got a lot of media attention when we did it. And what the students did was created activities for every experience area that we would have in a preschool and implemented activities that we actually opened it up to all our faculty in the college, knowing that they were working from home, and a lot of them had children who were not in their typical classrooms or childcares, and they were able to engage with the students alongside while they implemented activities that would support development. So it was a different way to apply the skills, but definitely was a great experience. The students enjoyed it, and we were still able to meet all the learning outcomes that we had for placement, so that students could practice their skills and we could give them ongoing feedback through that medium. So that's the placements in a nutshell. Is there any questions about the placements? I can't see the chat, so.
All right, no questions yet.
Okay, all right. Okay. So the second thing I'm going to talk about, and again, I'm focusing on what makes us different at Niagara College. Besides the fact that our campus is gorgeous and our faculty are amazing, that kind of goes without saying, but these are things that maybe stand out a bit more. In our program, so Professor Texera talked about the courses that you're going to take and the hours that you're going to need to put in. And within that, we recognize that when you graduate in 2 years, you're going to get the same diploma that everyone across the province is going to get that's done an early childhood education diploma. So what we wanted to do was set you apart from the other colleges. And what we decided to do was adding extra credentials as well to your resume. So what we have done is we've embedded extra credentialing into our curriculum. So when you graduate from Niagara College, you will graduate with your early child education diploma, but you'll also graduate with these extra credentials. So the first one is Hannon Learning Language and Loving It. It is a research-based program that about supporting early development of language and literacy, which is critical for ongoing academics for children. And what we've done is embedded it within the 2 years of the program, so that at the end of the 2 years, you are actually certified in this research-based program. And it involves you doing some sessions with us that are in your classes, so you don't have to do anything extra. And then some videos that we have some speech language pathologists come and review with you to give specialist expertise on those videos. And this is a very marketable program. It is very expensive to do on your own, and all our faculty spent a summer becoming train the trainers of this so that we could certify all our students. So that's the first one. The second one is the Red Cross Bully Prevention Program. We know bullying is something that we really need to address in the classroom right now. And so within a class, one of the courses, we do have a Red Cross Bully Prevention. Again, it's embedded in the class. You don't have to do anything extra when you're coming to class. This will be part of the curriculum, and you will get your certificate for this. The next one is QCCN. So if you plan to remain in Niagara, Niagara has a very well-developed early learning community. And what Niagara, the region, has done is decided that all early learning environments need to be certified in quality childcare. So they've developed a program that every ECE needs to do before they are working in the field. So it's an expense and something to organize for environments in the community prior to people working. So what we thought is we would get our students having that on their resume prior to them graduating. So it doesn't cost the employer anything to have them trained in this, or anytime they can just get their diploma and boom, in the classroom, they're qualified with QCCN. So again, it's embedded in the program. And then the next two are a global nutrition program, which is embedded in child health and well-being. It's in one of my classes actually. And it's speaking to the diversity of cultures and diversity of needs and how to incorporate that in the early years, and how to support nutrition, not just through food, but through physical activity and emotional well-being. It's an excellent program that is through Sick Kids Hospital. So the students will get certified in that. And then the last one, the CCEYA, that's our legislation that actually dictates everything we have to do in early years environment. So it's critical that our students know that. It's a popular interview question. People will ask about knowledge of the CCEYA. And so the students do a extensive test to be certified to say that they are well aware of all the requirements that literature and legislation dictates in the early years. And all these things go in their portfolio before they go out for a job, which is something that we also do with our students, is create that professional portfolio so that when they do go out for an interview, all these things are in a package that they just hand over to the employer to show how impressive they are upon graduation. So all these things are included over and above what you get when you graduate with your diploma. So yeah, any questions?
I do have one question. What does QCCN stand for and CCEYA?
Okay, so QCCN is the Quality Childcare Niagara. And so that is the program that the region of Niagara has implemented to ensure that every early years environment in the Niagara region is leading edge in terms of quality childcare. We know that the most rapid brain development happens between the ages of 0 and 6. And so Niagara region has taken a very vested interest in making sure that the early years population in the community is getting the best possible care and quality early learning experiences for their future. Okay, and the CCEYA is the Child Care Early Years Act. And it is our legislation that's from our government that tells us what we must provide. So it has in it, in terms of nutrition, how many ounces of milk a child should get when they're in an early years environment, how many minutes of outdoor time a child must get. So it's all the research that our Ministry of Education has done and put into the document that all early years environments must meet in order to be licensed and to know that they're providing a quality early learning environment. And great questions. Any other questions about that? No? Okay. All right. So I'm going to actually, I got one more thing that I'm going to talk about. me. So the last thing I'm going to talk about before I pass it over to Professor Texera so you can get a break from my voice is our community connections. So because Niagara region has taken such a vested interest in the early years, we really do connect with our community to make sure that we are teaching the students what our early years environment wants our future professionals to be and to know. So we have a PAC committee. This is throughout the college, regardless of what program you take. And the PAC community is professional advisory committee. And so what they do is it's actually the executive directors, supervisors, teachers in the field, people from the Board of Ed, anyone who actually is involved in the early years in the Niagara region can join this committee. And what we do is every change that we make, every idea that we come up with, we run it through this committee first, and they will give us feedback from kind of on the floor, front line, to say, yes, that sounds great, that's exactly what we want, or, you know, no, I think you should do this, or they found from our students being in their placements that they're missing something, so they'll recommend that we add something to our content so that we use that to guide our curriculum. We do bring in community experts as guest speakers. We are big believers that all of us, including all the faculty, are lifelong learners. And so we can always learn as well. That I think we have some experts in some areas on our faculty, but we recognize that we're not experts in everything. And so we bring in the experts in the field. And we also feel that this builds great connections with the students to put names to faces. And when they go out for interviews, they can say, oh yes, I remember you came and spoke in my child development class, and make that connection in their interviews. We have a significant demand for our grads. So if people are wondering about jobs, jobs are fulsome. They are out there. We can't get our grads graduated quick enough, actually, to get all the places filled in the community. The community comes to our students. So we do have opportunities for the community to come into our classes and speak about what they have to offer our students, to actually engage and recruit our students for work. And then we also have some external relationships for our students, which are broader than just Niagara region, but we have a relationship with Niagara University just across the border, where our students can go there and get into a master's program, and they're automatically accepted because they are Niagara College early childhood education grads, to continue their education across the border and do some research. We also have a opportunity to go to, not right now because of the pandemic, but previous to the pandemic, to go to Thailand. We have a fourth placement opportunity where students can go to Thailand and do their fourth placement at a school called Lertla. It is a school that has children from 2 years of age up until 12. And we have had students go over there and finish their placement. They actually did when they were looking at early child educators, they did some research and looked into the key performance indicators of all the colleges and universities across the country, actually, and came upon Niagara College's data and actually reached out to us. And so it took us a couple of years, but we developed a program with them to have our grads be the only college ECE students that they wanted in their environment. So that's a very exciting partnership that we have, an opportunity that students can have to go and learn abroad. And then we also have a relationship with Brock. They have the Bachelor of Early Childhood Education program, and our students get 2 years credit towards that degree if they would like to go on and do a university degree once they finish their diploma here at Niagara College. So those are some of the community connections that we've made to try and also broaden our students' experience, and also understand that this can be the start of many, many, many travels. All our faculty have been down multiple paths before they end up here, and we encourage the students to explore and understand that they're just starting out, most of them, in their careers. And so whatever they're interested in, we're going to support them finding the best fit for them as they go along in their learning. So, any questions about that?
I don't see any questions.
Nothing? Okay, so I'm going to hand it back to Kathy.
All right, so you've got a lot of information, and I think you can probably see that relationships are really important to us in the Faculty of Early Childhood Education. And we're going to open a video now for you to watch, where you will see a woman named Rita Pearson. And she is an educator who worked as a teacher for 40 years, and she understands the importance of relationships. And Professor Hayes and I find her very inspiring, and we hope that you will too. So no matter where you end up, whether you're in the early childhood education program or you choose another program, you will be learning from your studies and your work and the people who you're working with. And early childhood educators, as Professor Hayes said, we are lifelong learners. And so this video kind of embodies that, and we hope you will enjoy it. And it's just a short video, and we will be here waiting when you finish the video and to answer any more questions that you may have.
Okay, I'm just gonna pull it up here.
have spent my entire life either at the schoolhouse, on the way to the schoolhouse, or talking about what happens in the schoolhouse. Both my parents were educators. My maternal grandparents were educators. And for the past 40 years, I've done the same thing. And so needless to say, over those years, I've had a chance to look at education reform from a lot of perspectives. Some of those reforms have been good, some of them have been not so good. And we know why kids drop out. We know why kids don't learn. It's either poverty, low attendance, negative peer influences. We know why. But one of the things that we never discuss, or we rarely discuss, is the value and importance of human connection. Relationships. James Comer says that no significant learning can occur without a significant relationship. George Washington Carver says all learning is understanding relationships. Everyone in this room has been affected by a teacher or an adult. For years, I have watched people teach. I have looked at the best and I've looked at some of the worst. A colleague said to me one time, they don't pay me to like the kids. They pay me to teach a lesson. The kids should learn it. I should teach it. They should learn it. Case closed. Well, I said to her, you know, kids don't learn from people they don't like. She said, that's just a bunch of hooey. And I said to her, well, your year is going to be long and arduous, dear. Needless to say, it was. Some people think that you can either have it in you to build a relationship or you don't. I think Stephen Covey had the right idea. He said you ought to just throw in a few simple things, like seeking first to understand as opposed to being understood. Simple things like apologizing. You ever thought about that? Tell a kid you're sorry, they're in shock. I taught a lesson once on ratios. I'm not real good with math, but I was working on it. And I got back and looked at that teacher edition. I taught the whole lesson wrong. So I came back to class the next day and I said, look, guys, I need to apologize. I taught the whole lesson wrong. I'm so sorry. They said, that's okay, Miss Pearson. You were so excited. We just let you go. I have had classes that were so low, so academically deficient that I cried. I wondered, how am I going to take this group in 9 months from where they are to where they need to be? And it was difficult. It was awfully hard. How do I raise the self-esteem of a child and his academic achievement at the same time? One year I came up with a bright idea. I told all my students, you were chosen to be in my class. Because I am the best teacher and you are the best students, they put us all together so we could show everybody else how to do it. One of the students said, really? I said, really? We have to show the other classes how to do it. So when we walk down the hall, people will notice us. So you can't make noise, you just have to strut. And I gave him a saying to say, I am somebody. I was somebody when I came. I'll be a better somebody when I leave. I am powerful and I am strong. I deserve the education that I get here. I have things to do, people to impress, and places to go. And they said, yeah. You say it long enough, it starts to be a part of you. And so, I gave a quiz, 20 questions. Student missed 18. I put a +2 on this paper and a big smiley face. He said, Miss Pearson, is this an F? I said, yes. He said, then why'd you put a smiley face? I said, because you on the roll. You got 2 right, you didn't miss them all. I said, and when we review this, won't you do better? He said, yes, ma'am, I can do better. You see, -18 sucks all the life out of you. +2 said, I ain't all bad. 4 years, I watched my mother take the time at recess to review, go on home visits in the afternoon, buy combs and brushes and peanut butter and crackers to put in her desk drawer for kids that needed to eat, and a washcloth and some soap for the kids who didn't smell so good. See, it's hard to teach kids who stink. And kids can be cruel. And so she kept those things in her desk, and years later, after she retired, I watched some of those same kids come through and say to her, you know, Miss Walker, you made a difference in my life. You made it work for me. You made me feel like I was somebody when I knew at the bottom I wasn't. And I want you to just see what I've become. And when my mama died 2 years ago at 92, there were so many former students at her funeral. It brought tears to my eyes, not because she was gone, but because she left a legacy of relationships that could never disappear. Can we stand to have more relationships? Absolutely. Will you like all your children? Of course not. And you know your toughest kids are never absent. Never. You won't like them all, and the tough ones show up for a reason. It's the connection, it's the relationships. And while you won't like them all, the key is they can never, ever know it. So teachers become great actors and great actresses, and we come to work when we don't feel like it, and we listen to policy that doesn't make sense, and we teach anyway. We teach anyway because that's what we do. Teaching and learning should bring joy. How powerful would our world be if we had kids who were not afraid to take risks, who were not afraid to think, and who had a champion? Every child deserves a champion, an adult who will never give up on them, who understands the power of connection and insists that they become the best that they can possibly be. Is this job tough? You betcha. Oh God, you betcha. But it is not impossible. We can do this. We're educators. We're born to make a difference. Thank you so much.
I can just speak generally in terms of what a day might look like. So our classes would start on campus. Our classes start as early as 8:30 in the morning, and they go as late as 7:30 at night, depending. And you might not go all day. You could have a 2-hour class and then a 3-hour break, and then another class. You could have all your classes on Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and not have classes on Tuesday and Friday. We don't have any control over the scheduling. However, when we are on campus, the way our program works, which is actually something else that's different about Niagara College, is that our students do their courses at the same time, so concurrently with their placement, meaning that in first term, you would do your classes in the morning, anytime between 8:30 and 12:30. Then you would head out to do your placement, and you would do 3-hour block at your placement site in the same day. And the reason why we do that is so that if any issues come up, the students can bring them back to the classroom and everybody can learn from them. And we can support them, as opposed to them learning all stuff and then going off for 7 weeks and us not hearing about anything until they come back after the 7 weeks. So we have that concurrent placement process as well, which is unique in our program.
Great. So we do have a question here. Do you get to make your timetable, or is it done by the school?
That's a good question. So you do pick a section. So when you actually do your registration, you'll see the timing. And so what will happen is, if we're on campus, then you'll pick either the morning section or the afternoon section. And so you will either have all your, like I said, all your classes in the morning and placement in the afternoon, or all placement in the morning and all your classes in the afternoon. But timing of your courses, that's up to scheduling, and we never know what's gonna happen. So you'll kind of choose whether you go to classes in the morning or the afternoon. That's your choice when you register.
So we do have a question. How are the placements done now that we are in the pandemic, and are there online placements?
Okay, so yes, as we had mentioned before, we couldn't go out in placements because of the limits of the numbers in classrooms and early learning environments. So we did create virtual placements where actually the faculty all engaged in activities and videos, modeling exactly what we wanted the students to do. And then the students had to actually videotape themselves engaging in the activities, and we provided profiles, we provided videos, we provided ongoing experiences of what they would have to respond to or have to engage in placement, and put it up virtually for the students. So it was definitely a different experience. However, the students did enjoy it and felt that they really benefited from it, because when you're being videotaped, specifically, there's kind of nowhere to hide. Whereas when you're in the classroom, sometimes there's a little bit of wiggle room for your host teacher to jump in and help you and those things. So it did push our students to a different level. And we felt like it was a really creative way to support them through their placements. Mm-hmm. Did you have anything, Kath, about that?
No, I think you summed it all up there. There is a question about textbooks, which I can answer, though. It says, are textbooks needed and are they offered online? So yes, there are textbooks that are needed. And we have a few courses that share the same textbook. So we've tried to have some custom textbooks made to help students out, so they're not buying too many textbooks that aren't useful. So all of our textbooks are very useful, and they are available in the bookstore. So when we're on campus, all you need to do is bring your schedule, your timetable to the bookstore, and they just plug it in and they know exactly what you need, and they will give you all your textbooks. But otherwise, we've been, students have ordered them online this term, and those who are local have been able to come and pick them up by curbside pickup. So, so that's all covered, pandemic or no pandemic.
What online platforms are used? Microsoft, Google Meet, etc.
All of the above. So our learning management system is called Blackboard, and it's through the college. And so Blackboard is the only learning management system that will contact students through. We don't accept emails from Gmail, Hotmail, anything like that. You have to contact your professors through your Niagara College email, and all assignments and lectures and all those things are through Blackboard. However, we have over this past year used all of the platforms that you're talking about. So some of our lectures are through Microsoft Stream, which is a program that we have in Blackboard that's available to you as well as us as faculty. We have, so Professor Texera and I actually teach a course together on working with families. And so we've had students doing their group work through Zoom, and we've jumped in that way and had their lectures and classes through that. There's Blackboard Collaborate, which also allows for group work. And that's one of the ways that we will meet with students a lot of the times, especially our first term students. We try to meet with them in the first 2 weeks of school, which we've done through Blackboard Collaborate, having individual meetings just to put a face to a name, despite you being in your bedroom versus being in the classroom. And then again at midterm to say, okay, here's where we're at. If you're doing well, what's working for you that we can continue? And then what could we add to make things better for you? And if anyone is struggling, saying like, what's the hump that we can help you get over to make sure that we finish strong? Kind of goes back to that relationship piece that Professor Texera was talking about, that we, even though we're not on campus, we're still aware of how each and every student is doing and are trying to modify everything that we have. And I'm trying to think what else we've used a lot of different platforms. I'm not sure, Kath, if there's something.
Yeah, as far as meeting with students, I think that's about it. But we have used VoiceThread to give our lectures, which is really easy, and the students seem to appreciate that platform as well. I think you covered them all, though.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What through placements have you, oh, here we are. How many students are accepted and how many are in each class?
So in terms of accepted, I'm not sure about that because it changes each year depending on classroom capacity. But typically in our first terms, we usually have about 140 first term students, first year students, I guess, for the first 2 terms. And then our second terms, we usually have about 120 students. So, and then when we have students that have, we have some students that will come back for specific courses or drop into part-time processes for any reason. So we typically overall in both years have about 320 students at any one time. And our sections, so in first and second term, you're divided into 2 sections. So the classes are about 70 students per section. And then in third term, we were breaking into 3 sections. So then it broke you down into about 45 students per section. However, we're not sure, to be honest, how that's going to look when we return to campus. But even within the classes of 70 students, we do make sure that we interact with every single one of those students. So it's not a giant classroom that you can come in and be anonymous in, because we would never want that for a child that you're going to be interacting with. So we would never model that in a classroom for you. Yeah, it's a good question.
And what about the placements? Do you find a lot of students get positions from their placements, or stay in that area?
Yeah, almost always, actually. Our 4th term students, it's like an ongoing comment down in our hallway when they're in 4th term. 4th term placement is 6 full weeks. So 8 hours a day, 5 days a week for 6 weeks. So they really get to know that environment and the staff there. And so it's an ongoing kind of announcement in the 4th term class. Of, oh, guess what? I got hired. Guess what? I got hired. Guess what? As soon as I get my diploma and I get registered, I'm going to start working. So yes, our students get placements or get jobs right out of their placements. And students don't choose. I think this was a question before I didn't answer, so I apologize. But students don't choose their placements. Our placement officers do that. You do fill out a form of what your interests are and where you are living. And we do our best to match it up. But like I said, we also push our students to try new things. You will never do a placement in the same classroom, in the same organization twice. Even though you might just love it and it was the best experience ever. We won't do that. And we won't put you in an environment that you've supplied in or worked at previously, because it's a conflict of interest. We want to make sure that you're being evaluated effectively and that you're getting more experience. You already have that experience already on your resume. Let's add something else.
Great. Very well-rounded placement experience.
We try.
Oh, after graduating, what percentage of students get full-time jobs? Do you know the percentage? Generally, it seems like it's high.
Yeah, our KPI, like the last time we did, so KPIs are key performance indicators. And so we don't do those anymore, but every year we typically did those. And ours were always above 90%. Always above 90%. Yeah. And what we found was the ones that didn't get jobs according to the KPI were the ones that actually were pursuing their education somewhere else. So we have never, in all my time here, we have never had students come back and say, I can't believe I did that. I can't find a job. Never, right? We actually have, most places are asking to hire our students before they graduate, and we're saying no, because we can't say that they've met all the learning outcomes yet to give them their diploma. So typically, yeah, we have absolutely zero problem getting our grads jobs.
Wow, that's really great. Thank you.
Thanks.
Anybody else? Or did Angela, Kathy, Fernanda, do you have anything to add? Maybe for international students we might have online here?
Well, we do have a significant population of international students. So we have been learning about, adjusting our meeting times to meet other time zones, and making sure that we connect with our international students as well. It's a bit of a different adjustment, obviously, when they're online. But we have all our expectations for all our students, regardless of whether they're domestic, international, right out of high school, mature student, new career, old career, upgrade. The expectations are all the same for our students. And so we make sure that they know that right off the hop coming into the program. So we try not to differentiate between any of our students, regardless of where they're coming from.
How do you find the students? Like, is it a lot of younger? Is it older? Is it a good mix?
It's a mix. It's a real mix. We have some students as young as 17 who have just come out of high school. And then, we have students who've already been to university and they're getting their ECE diploma. And then we have mature students who maybe we have quite a few actually this time that are pursuing a second career. They've decided they want to change, or people who've had families and, they've just going back to school is something that they're doing middle age kind of thing. So we do have a very wide variety of age groups.
So, I guess, our time is pretty much up. So I am just going to say goodbye to everyone and enjoy the rest of your weekend. Looks like the sun is trying to come out. So get out there and enjoy the rest of the day. And thank you again for attending.
Okay, bye everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.